Hello everyone, Maurice here. Today I bring you another meta report for Axie Infinity Origins Season 7. Now it's the early epic era. So finally we get to the epic era, which for some people probably is the most fun era because you have the most new runes and charms. So the gist of it is here. It's basically that Purge and Fury aggro is really being very dominant at the top. And Anemone Jinx also pretty viable at the top. And if you look at the lower mid to low challenger, I must say the meta is pretty diverse and I'm quite enjoying it as a casual player, just having different matchups. So, okay, let's get into the player-based statistics. So in this case, we have another 7,000 new players. Having said that, right, so a lot of the new players, maybe about 4,000 of them are actually at these two, right? So below 200 victory stars. So meaning, I assume a lot of people probably maybe just know about Ron or whatever. Just come and try the game. Yep, and probably that's it. So there's quite a bit of that, but having said that, there's also quite a lot of people managing to get to Challenger, and so let's scroll back up here, and you can see that Challenger is already at 2,600 people at the time of recording. So, yeah, the other thing to note is actually, interestingly, the Tiger number of players actually stays pretty similar in the sense that that just means people from the bottom are moving up to Tiger, and people at Tiger are moving up to Challenger and Dragon. So, it's I guess it's a good sign that people continuously moving up. So, meaning quite a number of players are still playing the game. So, in that sense, people at Tiger or above is at 20k. So at this point, it's you can think of it as like 20k players are really quite serious players, whereas of course there are still some that are just casual playing at the lower level. Okay, so let's actually get into the archetype usage, right? So I already showed this before, and here we see, of course, at the very top. So this way I just need to go back a bit, and you can see that only, well, I mean, a few players at the 23,000, and then about 20 players. You can think of it as the second level at 20, above 22k, and then about 100 players above 21. 2100 in terms of the victory star. So top one really is just like I would say a few players. And yeah, Fury aggro, Purge is really like the main thing I feel. Also Fury aggro I feel like is also going to be quite strong, but I think Purge is really very dominant. Even let's say the top 20, a third of them are playing Purge, or rather the matches, right? And even the top here is what I think about 100 or something, right? Still Purge and Fury Argo are the most significant. About half of the matchup of the players are playing that. So I'm going to actually talk about more about those two archetypes in a bit, but yeah, so Mask of Frenzy basically is the meta at the moment. Of course, you can still see Jinx actually is doing pretty well as Anomaly, so those are the two that can really survive at the very tops. Sponge as well, but then Sandal you can see is not doing the best, even though it's still viable at the top, but it's maybe not at the very top. And interestingly, sustain is, I guess, that's not that interesting, but sustain is still there as well. So, yeah, I always expect sustain to still be around at any point really. And then yeah, unfortunately, like for a lot of the other archetypes, we may have to go a bit further down, especially unfortunately for poison. Poison really is getting down pretty low at this point. Maybe feather as well. Yeah, actually, one thing I should mention is that confused and pure damage, sorry, fighter actually can have certain potential, at least like to the top 100. Um, yeah, so yeah, that's pretty the diversity. I feel like if you're playing at lower challenger, maybe at 1,000, 2,000 ranks, then I feel like you're probably gonna have quite a good time just because you probably face a lot of different matchups. And of course, probably hopefully don't really have the stress that the top player has, where of course you need to win every single game for top players, whereas for casual players, it's okay, just grind for AXP and just enjoy the game. Okay, so let's get into the win rates. So let me. This is going to be a lot because of course in Epic era you do have quite a number of different archetypes, and so you can see Jinx, Sponge, Fury Argo, and Purge. and Anomaly. So those are really the main ones to look out for at the very top, especially for Perch. You can see Perch and Free Aggro really just above 50% win rate across the board. So that's why these two are so strong. Anomaly as well. So that's why I think it's also going to be quite strong. And Jinx, right? So that's why I would say these four are so far the top four. Sponge is not far behind, I must say. Sustain is kind of always there. And yeah, the one to look out for, I think I mentioned, is Confused. Right, and the pure damage story fighter, I think, has pretty good chance, and maybe Hotbutt as well, maybe. Yeah, but if you want to look at like so-called the losers of the Epic era, will definitely be Poison. Yeah, I feel like Poison is definitely going down. Triple R not doing too well as well. Included Clover here, but just for completeness sake, really, and it's been interesting to see Clover teams being in Challenger, and actually I must say Challenger now has all sorts of different team, right? I've seen like Goo team as well. So what I'm trying to say is that whatever team, I feel like of course it has to have certain synergy, but just play your favorite team to get to Challenger would be, I would say a fun way of playing Axie Origins. Okay, so then let's get into the matchup, and of course a very big table, and this is for everyone in Challenger, of course, and so it will include quite a lot of not so optimized team, especially for those common archetypes. But having said that, there's quite still a general story to tell, which is that Perch is really having positive win rate pretty much across the board, maybe with the slight exception of Fury Aggro, still 48, right? But so yeah, Perch is really I don't know. I was going to say unstoppable, but of course you can still tech against it and stuff like that. So I feel like Perch is going to be the one to look out for the rest of the era. Fury aggro as well, of course, not as dominant just because it might struggle with other aggro team like Sandal, with Feather and Anomaly, especially for those that with like Rams and also like Shield, maybe a bit more tricky. But still, it's still not a bad win rate at 40 something percent. Yeah, but across the positive across the board, other than those three. And yes, I would say that's really the main thing that I wanted to point out. I guess the other one is actually Anomaly, right? If you want a sort of like even matchup, then Anomaly will be a go-to, especially because Anomaly I think is more affordable, let's put it that way, compared to like Perch, which really requires very specific axes. Okay, so here I just want to kind of then highlight the teams, really. The two archetypes that are pretty dominant, and let me just go in a bit more. And the first one is Perch. Perch, you can see, usually three Bs with Puppy Eyes, triple Puppy Eyes, triple Confident with Master Frenzy. The idea is just getting into Fury, and the other idea is, of course, have a double Nemo ears, triple Nemo tail, just really thin out the deck, ramp, get to 4 energy, and then, of course, getting two of your axes, or maybe even all three of your axes into the Fury mode, and then you can get like 5-6 energy perch off pretty easily, especially now with the okay, this is where the parts evolution really I feel like makes a difference, because last season I feel like it could have been the same thing, right? And perch wasn't that big of a deal, right? Maybe people have never discovered it. I was expecting perch to be quite a big thing last season, but maybe it just didn't make the cut. But now with parts evolution, it's just a +3 on perch, might have made a difference. And yeah, because of the scaling. So this is where you can see all three axes with evolved perch, and the reason is because of course you really ideally just want to have two of your axes survive to get into Fury, and then any of them can actually uh, do a very big perch off, and whichever one survive and then can do another perch if you cannot finish your opponent off in the first perch. So that's pretty much the perch team, I think. This very fast, especially I guess one thing I should note is the innocent lamb. I mean the on the front usually, and with the pre-order tag, and then getting the innocent lamb in the first turn, and then of course the second turn or second round, and you can get the Nemos and just take all the Nemos out of your deck, which makes it quite a bit more consistent, I must say, just because there are a lot of zero cost card in this deck. Okay, and then the other one is Fury Argo. Fury Argo, you can see even more Mask of Frenzies, and it's because similarly, yep, says triple puppy, triple uh, confident, and with the triple Zen as well. Uh, yeah, so triple Zen to give you more rage. This is really about getting into Fury and then just hitting opponent very hard. So triple Imp for extra damage in Fury mode, and of course Shiva as well. So double Shiva, right? Again, getting more, yeah, rage stack, but also of course dealing quite a lot of damage as well when you get into Fury. And of course Ronan as well. Yeah, I should just mention Ronan. Yeah, so all this is really just about going fast, getting into Fury, uh, yeah, and just hit. That's yeah, a very good game plan, I must say. And one thing to note is for this particular team, sometimes they might take a shrimp just so that you can maybe redirect, so that maybe play around a bit of taunt, or sorry, not play around taunt, play around a bit of a shield. Of course, you can play around taunt, but yeah, sometimes you might just want to target the back or something. Of course, it's also good against certain single carry teams where if they don't have a taunt, like maybe just one certain turn, they might not have a taunt, then you can just hit the carry, and yeah, so that's the Fury aggro. So it's also very, very strong. And note that the other thing I should note is uh, running a mech and a bug is a pretty interesting choice. Of course, it might not be obvious for Epic, but of course this is more about grinding for AXP and more like future-proof for the Mystic era, where of course the mech will have the last stand, which I think is makes it very strong. Buying an extra turn is just too good. And then of course, collect and protect on the bug could also be good just for consistency in terms of this card draw. So yeah, so that is pretty much all I want to say about these two teams. And yeah, I mean, it's good to see how parts evolution actually change can impact how the meta, especially let's say last season we had poison and spikes being quite dominant just because of the parts, evolved parts, and of course now we have the purge being the prime example in this era. Okay, so that is all I want to say about this video, and of course do check out my blog post with a lot more information, like extra information at the back of the blog post as well, so that's in the description, and that's it, and I'll see you in the next video.